So, this is what you've heard. The maturers, boomers, Gen X, or Gen Y, or as I like to call them, really old people. Old people who don't think that they're old people. Whiny people who can't decide if they're old or young people. And tiny little baby people. Hello and welcome to Us versus Them, the most educational and entertaining generational presentation in the world. Why? Because after poking fun at all the stereotypes we have about young workers, old workers, and everyone in between, I will show you how to recognize and resolve every generational issue you're currently facing. That's no exaggeration. By the end of this presentation, you will walk away with all the knowledge you'll need to address 100% of the generational issues you're dealing with. And this is also the funniest, most purely enjoyable generational seminar you will ever see. So get ready to laugh more and learn more than you thought was possible. So there's only two ways we actually think about each other. Only two true designations. There's young people and there's old people. That's all there is.
Jeff's perspective was entertaining and enlightening and well received by the entire group.
So pay attention. How many times you answer A or B, we'll find out, are you an old or young person? Here we go. Question number one. Have you ever used a computer that required you to put things called disks into things called a disk drive? Yes, or I don't recognize those words. Question 7. Do you occasionally walk from one room of your house to another, get where you were going, and then forget why you wanted to be there in the first place? Yes or no? Super easy question. I'm expecting a lot of yeses on this one. And question 11. If you had to wait in line for something, which of the following would be a more important line for you to wait in? Food and water or the next iPhone? I want you to look around the room. I want you to lock eyes with someone in the other camp from you. If you're an old person, I want you to find a tiny baby person. If you're a baby person, I want you to find an old person. And I want you just to look at them, and I want you to realize something about them. They are trying to destroy you. Other generational presentations focus on what people want, but Us versus Them will tell you why everyone wants the different things that they do. It's an important distinction that will make implementing new solutions easier than you ever thought possible. For these younger people who have always had 500 channels of TV, always had the internet, their world has always, from birth, been global. It's always been 7 billion people large. And in a world that's this big, it's so much harder to feel like what you're doing is relevant or interesting or even noticed by the community that we all now consider ourselves to be a part of. It's important to point out that they didn't choose this. This is the world they were born into. This is what they were given. And I don't think any young person you know will ever be able to articulate this loneliness to you. They don't know there's another way to think. And it's hard enough for all of us, every one of you, myself included, has had a hard time sometimes thinking that what we're doing is worth doing against the endless, blinding barrage that comes from our global world. But you old people, me too, we have that foundation to draw strength from. We have that grounding in an earlier, smaller world. This young generation doesn't. All they know is that they've been dropped into this impossibly large system where everybody is always shouting all the time about everything. And what they want, even if they don't know how to ask you for it, is for someone to come along, pluck them out of this endless ocean of noise, and make them feel like they're not drowning in it. It is very easy to forget that loyalty is a two-way street. If you were loyal to your employer in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, part of the reason you were is because they promised you a security that they then delivered on. Now, though, the prevailing understanding of what a company is one where pretty much everybody fends for themselves. So I've said this already, but it bears repeating. The incentives that foster employee loyalty are being taken away, and this is a huge thing. Now, so you've got people who are simultaneously desperate to belong somewhere and who've been trained to believe that you will not care about them, that you're not going to provide that place to belong. That is a good part of the reason that they don't immediately display a killer work ethic. Part of it is because they're lazy, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. So don't worry, tiny baby people, your moment is coming. But part of it is because they don't want to do a lot of work only to find out that their job is going to be automated or sourced away 6 to 9 months down the road. They want to know that they're going to be rewarded for what they do, the same as all of us. Now, for the tiny little baby people, I got stuff for you. I have a secret. And I want you to look at an old person around here, and I want you to realize that they weren't always old people. None of the older people that you work with got where they are overnight. spent years working themselves into the jobs they're currently doing. If not at your company, then at some other company, slowly building the skill set necessary to do what they're currently doing. Probably the most important thing for you young people to understand is that advancement is a process, not a right. Our careers are not a different kind of experience from the other experiences in our lives. There is simply a different experience. You can't pick up a football and play at the NFL level or the starting college level or probably even the starting high school level. You can't pick up an instrument and play Carnegie Hall or probably even a high school band. You can't go on a blind date with someone for 4 hours and then decide to marry him. You can in Vegas, but you shouldn't.
Hi, I'm Rick Nave. I've hosted this meeting of the Stadium Managers Association for, more than 30 years, and I've always been the funny one until today, and I will never have Jeff Havens come back because he was absolutely too funny and put all the pressure on me.
If you would like to propose to a woman, which of the following things should you probably buy her? A diamond ring, a Shetland pony, or an arc welder? Which one? There's really no wrong answer here. There isn't. There's got to be a girl that would love an arc welder. There's got to be a girl who's like, oh my God, you so know me. I've always wanted to arc weld. I love you. And of course, all girls love ponies. I've known that since I was a kid, right? But odds are 4,000 years of history suggests the good old-fashioned boring diamond ring is still going to do the trick. Which leads me to my first important point about change management with all you young people. You're going to hate this, but it's the truth anyway, so here we go. The reason that all the older people you work with like doing things the way they've always done them is because the way they've always done them has generally worked. Exactly. As evidenced by the fact that your company still exists. They are the reason for that. They actually do know what they're doing.
Jeff's very enthusiastic, engages an audience, and really hits home with a different style.
I know you older folks are sick of hearing that the world is changing faster now than ever before, but it is the truth. But here's the important distinction. For you old people, it is changing faster than it used to. For these baby tiny little people, it's changing at exactly the same speed it always has. This is their normal. This is all they've ever known. It's part of the reason they like it, because it's what they are comfortable with. And I'm not just talking about communication strategies, I'm talking every single thing. 30 years ago, we didn't talk about China or online delivery models or crowdsourcing or outsourcing or apps. So just like they need to appreciate the fact that your company's processes exist for very good reasons, you need to appreciate the fact that things really are changing faster now than they ever have in the human experience.
Perfect mix of humor and laughter and fun. With an underlying, rather serious message, and something that everyone really takes to. The staff, throughout the rest of the session, they would just constantly talk about Jeff's portion of it.
Young people, I want you to find an old person out here. Old people, I want you to find a young person. I want you to give each other a hug. Okay? I do. I want you to keep your hands above the waist. I'm not looking for like a harassment kind of thing going on here.